I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to you this morning about workforce development. And I want to start with something that I've observed through a 30-plus year career being around a variety of manufacturers, talking with people at all stages of their career, watching my own kids move up and out into the workforce. And it occurs to me that just about everybody wants three basic things in their work, regardless of what they do. They want to know that the work that they do is important. They want to know that they're going to have the tools and the support to be able to do a good job. And finally, they want to know that they're going to have the chance to get ahead in their career. And so that's pretty broad. I want to take a couple of minutes and to talk about how that pertains to workforce development and why we have to seize this moment to be able to do our part to ensure that we have a bright future. First of all, everybody wants to know that the work that they're doing is important. My wife is a nurse. She worked in labor and delivery, and it was pretty easy for her to draw a bright line between what she did and a greater good. As a salesman selling automation equipment in the late 80s and 90s, I had to work a little bit harder. But what I found was that I could be passionate about doing my part in strengthening what I believed then and believe now is the vital core of the American economy by helping manufacturers be more productive. And as I talk about workforce development, the opportunity to create durable jobs is also something that speaks to me. We have to start with getting some of those messages out to change the perception of manufacturing among our young people. That's where it starts, is to create an openness in our young people, high school and even earlier, that these type of jobs in the advanced manufacturing economy today are desirable jobs. Besides the material benefits, the fact that people are able to interact with high tech, they have a chance to move into different roles. There's greater cross-training, and there's the ability to move into different interesting positions throughout a career. But that perception campaign is absolutely critical. Establishing that these jobs are important and that they can be fulfilling. The second area, tools and support to be able to do a good job. I think of a few things there that are especially important to keep in mind. The first one is the concept of lifelong learning. We can provide all the education that we want to somebody coming out of high school or a 2-year tech school or a 4-year university, but it's only going to go so far, because if they're 22 years old, at 32, technology will have moved on. New equipment will come in. But unfortunately, a lot of us employers focus on that very front end without having a program that follows our employees through the entire course of a 40-year career. They can be the brightest, they can be the most eager to learn, but if we don't provide those opportunities, Deloitte tells us that you should think about 3% of payroll as a rough benchmark for what you contribute to that education of your employees. Then you're going to have employees who don't feel like they have the tools, that they're not given what they need to be able to do that job throughout that whole career. And we have to start looking at those education programs as a competitive differentiator, not as a necessary cost to be borne and maybe to be stripped away during a recession. It's got to be persistent, and we've got to demonstrate our commitment to providing that kind of education. The next element of providing the tools and support to be able to do a good job is to focus on outcome-based I'll call it infused education. Focus on the outcomes. We have a program, and we're going to show you a short video now, that talks about one such program that focuses on the outcomes in the curriculum that we provide to a very special class of manufacturing employees. So if we could run that video.
The interesting part about this program, the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing, is it separates itself because, number one, it's filling a void in the manufacturing world. We're filling a skills gap. But the other part of it is we're employing men and women who sacrificed for the country.
We're partnering with Rockwell Automation, which brings their fantastic engineering training program to bear. And Manpower Group is bringing our ability to source and recruit, assess, and provide professional skills training for these veterans.
We're going to take people that on day one had some understanding and technical capability because they did some incredibly technical roles in the military, that over the course of the 12 weeks will learn to be pretty darn close to experts in automation and advanced manufacturing.
I was in the Army, and I was a 14 Tango, which is a Patriot Air Defense Artillery.
I was a communication, navigation, and mission systems technician for the Air Force.
When I first got out, I was looking at the job boards, and I actually saw, a lot of jobs out there for automation and manufacturing. I'm like, oh, okay. I've got the electronics experience. I don't know anything about PLCs or HMIs or any of this stuff at all.
I had to start from scratch. I got contacted. They were really excited. I was really excited. And I said, hey, you know what? This program seems like it was made just for me. Not only for veterans, but it's in the industry, the manufacturing industry, with the controls and automation, which is something I've always wanted to do, but I was never able to get into it.
I came here from working in the automotive industry. I saw where just the production industry itself was going in the direction through the use of automation. I wanted to be able to keep up with the times and the change.
This program has given us a huge jump start. They've essentially taken 4, 5, 6 months of training and compressed them into 3. So it, as they say, has been like drinking from the fire hose.
You get the foundation and you just keep going from there. And everything's tied into stuff that we did this like the first, second week. And it's, I'm much more confident now in what we've learned than, I was when we started. And it just keeps growing with every lab, every practical exercise, every test that we do.
From day one to now is totally different as far as my knowledge base. I had zero knowledge on automation, PLCs, drives, motors, HMIs, anything to do with automation, zero knowledge. Now, I'm not gonna say I'm an expert by any means, but I know much more than I did before.
This program, it's different because we're going out to customers and sharing with them the story of the program. That's at the front end of the process. When we share that story, pretty universally, they embrace the concept and want to be part of it. And then at the back end, they come back a few weeks later for placement days where they get the opportunity to sit down with those candidates, interview them, and make hiring decisions.
Interviews went great. The companies kept it as like a conversation, and that put me at ease.
Right now, I'm looking at 2 companies, 2 different roles. One role I have is a shift manager, and I'm also looking at a position more of a engineering technician type of role. I feel like I'm going to excel in either. I don't know what the future holds. I know it's all going to be good and exciting.
I'm very confident in working in this field. Everything that I've learned from this program has been in line with what the companies are looking for. And yeah, I'm confident that I'll fit right in, and I'm confident in my skills of what I've learned.
I never dreamed I'd have the opportunity, and now that I'm in it, and now that I've participated, and now that I'm doing what I'm doing, once I leave here, this is a springboard to the rest of my professional life.
It's not just about the program participants' accomplishments. That's incredibly great. And the fact that they're going to have great jobs, and some of them will triple their income, literally in 12 weeks, triple their income, is an enormously powerful story. But beyond that, they've set a great foundation for hundreds and hopefully thousands of veterans to come downstream.
I felt a sense of being important. I felt a sense of pride, and more importantly for me, like being useful to somebody.
It's great to just see the culmination of it all. Just being able to see and look back and be like, over the last 3 months, we went from 14 individuals who weren't too sure what was going on or really what was being expected of us to now being able to go out and say that the 14 of us have successfully completed the pilot course of the Academy of Advanced Manufacturing.
So I had the privilege to attend the first graduating class of this group. We had 14 veterans who went through the graduation a few weeks ago in Cleveland. We're constructing our second campus in Milwaukee, and the next class will begin in January of 2018 in our Milwaukee headquarters facility. One of the single most rewarding aspects of my career to be able to see this come to life. And it started from a program that we've been doing for years for our own internal employees, but we felt that we could take it external, and so far the results are very good. All of the graduates will have jobs. We worked with Manpower to wire together the skills that we were creating with manufacturers around the country who needed those skills, and we think it's going to have a bright future. One of the points I want to also make about the providing the tools and support to be able to do a good job is that there's no one-size-fits-all program. We think the program that we just talked about has a lot of legs, and we're going to be able to scale it well, but I think it's incumbent on manufacturers to be able to develop relationships with the learning centers, whatever they are, whether they're high schools, two-year tech schools, universities, their own internal programs, to have that very tight understanding of what's needed to create a successful employee and to work those out. There's really no shortcut. There's toolkits that can be used, there's best practices that can be shared, but there's no cure-all, and so it requires hard work on the part of manufacturers. We have to get our recruiting and our HR departments in the game. Otherwise, we can't create the demand. We can't explain what we're looking for, and so there's really no shortcut for that. The final point I want to make about providing the tools and support to be able to do a good job is the importance of diversity. To be able to consider the broadest possible talent pool to attract the best and the brightest, because we're committed to the idea that diverse teams make better decisions. It's important at the front end, and then it's important throughout one's career to be in an environment where they feel like they can do the best job, can do the best work, and they want to do their best work too. They're in an environment where they feel like a different perspective or a different background or whatever difference they may exhibit is appreciated and valued. And so that's an important part of it, and it's contributed a lot to the success of our early training programs. The final area of importance is the ability to advance in one's career. And Lifelong learning certainly plays a role in that. I've talked before about the importance of being able to provide educational opportunities throughout the course of what could easily be a 40-plus year career. I know I'm certainly learning new things every day myself, and I think all employees, regardless of where they are, like to have that opportunity. I think it's also important to not downplay the role of having fun and providing interest throughout that career as well. I know one of the single greatest benefits or attributes of our early programs in terms of developing our technical workforce and our leadership development is that those people get to go through these programs in a cohort as part of a group of other people who typically have similar interests, and it's fun for them. And we shouldn't downplay that importance of being able to go through a large company in a group where they can develop even tighter bonds with people who have like interests. And that's an important part of keeping it interesting and creating a cohesion within the organization. And we think those kinds of cultural attributes contribute a lot to our success, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way about your own cultures and the programs that you've created. So those are a few ideas that we found at a broad sense. I want to finish with, before taking a couple of questions, just a call to action. You know, I've had the opportunity to meet with a lot of investors over the last week or two, and as the conversation started turning to the future, tax reform, for instance, what does that mean? One investor asked me yesterday, so if we get that, and if it spurs additional investment in U.S. manufacturing, are we going to have the people to be able to fill those jobs? And I think none of us know for sure, because all of us who are in manufacturing know the difficulty in getting and keeping capable workers. And so the time is now for us to be putting some of these programs in place, or else the promise of expanded opportunities for manufacturing in the U.S. will go unoptimized, will go unfulfilled in some cases. And that is an existential threat to the future of competitive manufacturing in the U.S., which again, I think is a vital core of the overall economy. So we have to start now with charting a course. There's no one-size-fits-all. It's sitting down and looking at what you need and looking at the resources around you to be able to bring that pool of trained labor. You have to start with the premise that each of us in manufacturing have to be competitive against the very best around the world. And that's just going to be a fact of life, that we're not going to be able to stand still, that we're going to have to continue to be more and more efficient to compete and to thrive against our competitors around the world. If you don't accept that premise, then a lot of what I say won't make sense. But if you start there, then recognizing that making the most efficient use and maximizing what people can do in your manufacturing processes is absolutely essential. And so as rote work that doesn't require decision-making skills is replaced to some extent by automation, the idea is that those companies, being more successful, get to do more of what they're doing, which requires people. There are very few lights-out factories. Manufacturing processes still require people, but as time goes on, the people are going to be prized primarily for their decision-making skills and their ability to be able to interact with this technical equipment. And as those manufacturers are successful by making the most efficient use of their resources, they grow, which requires more people. They're more profitable, which adds additional lines of business, which again require people to be able to design and to produce and to market and to sell those products. It's a very dynamic landscape that I'm painting, but I think it's a fact of life. It's not going to be something that you're going to be able to rely on inertia for as long as manufacturers might have in the past. So it's going to continue to require innovation and changing. But I think the future can be bright, and it's one that involves a lot of people in manufacturing. We're an automation company, but I know our people remain our most important asset, because that's what provides the spark to come up with new ideas that allow us to be better than our competitors.